Hello everybody. As you can kind of see with the opening of the video, I did a little work in the floorboard of the blue car and stuff, but I wanted to show you this in this video. 50 years ago when this car was wrecked, short of cutting the quarter panel off the car to get the window out of it, there wouldn't have been any removing that window. Took it out by letting the track go out the bottom of the quarter where it's rusted out, and then I had to spread the top of the quarter because between this and it getting rear-ended, it pinched that window in that car. So I showed you that I got the window out. I also got a handful of other stuff out, but I'll show that in later videos and stuff. But I wanted to mention this. Part of the reason that I decided not to go ahead and just drive the car before it was done again is I couldn't put that window in on this side over here without fixing where those three pieces of metal kind of tacked in like I had to over here. Since I couldn't just go ahead and do that because I needed to be able to weld behind the window, and as hard as they are to take out and put in, I decided that it would be in my best interest just to wait until I have the quarter cut off of that side and go ahead and patch everything I need to patch, and then put the window in it and stuff. I was originally going to drive the car, but it was just going to have this window and the two door windows, and I'm tired of not being able to drive this thing in the rain and stuff, so I'm just kind of, putting it off a little bit longer. But all right, so to kind of mention something, and it's something I've explained before, but the reason that I'm doing this car the way that I'm doing this car, and the reason that I'm using what I'm using and fixing what I'm fixing, and even going through the trouble of getting the parts off the cars in the field to begin with, is the original plan for this car was I'm going to use what I have. And if that means that certain things aren't good, or certain things aren't like you would expect it to be for a car that's getting restored, that's just the way it is. This car is not getting restored. This is not a restoration. This car is getting built back to the way that it was before it got wrecked 40 years ago. It's not being restored back to the way it was when it came off the truck. So certain things like that window rubber there. Yeah, I mean, I know they sell new ones, but that was still on that yellow car, so I'm going to use it. And I know that if anything actually ever gets into it, like the window rubbing up and down on it, it's going to probably lose those fingers. Well, that's fine. It would have by now anyway. But if I don't use something like this, then I don't have anything up against that, and it's just a raw edge instead of having anything. And I can always go back and replace that later. That's the same thing with patching the quarters the way I did the first time, just to go back and fix them. Everything can be fixed better later, but not everything can be fixed right the first time. Not on this car. And I'm using what I have. which is something that a lot of keyboard warriors and stuff like that tend to have a hard time understanding, is I'm not going to go out here and spend $50 on a set of window rubbers, and I mean $50 on a set of U rubbers and stuff, just so I have new ones, when I could have put that $50 towards the trunk lid, or towards bumperettes, bumper guards and stuff that I'm wanting this car to have. There's more important things to me than making sure everything that I do is 100%. Kind of show you something else I'm working on, and it'll be in another video. And 3 years ago, I was trying to get this car ready to go to a car show, and I was running out of time, so certain things never got fixed, and one of those being this driver's side body mount. I'm happy with that. It's got a bolt in it and the rubbers and everything, but previously had a rusted off bolt down through it, holding in the hole, and the captured part of that nut was just letting it spin, which is the reason I couldn't get it out. So I'll just pried that out like I did the other side, and now I'm gonna put a nut and bolt on this side just like I did the other side. I've been driving this car around this entire time without this body mount. This is all good to me now. As far as I'm concerned, everything from here to this corner and up around the wheel well is done on this side, except I've got to go back and mess around with that a little bit, and I've got to make something for here. That's supposed to be a boxed in area, and when you don't have a window in the back of a car, that rusts out. Every one of those is rusted out up here. It's just like this side. That side over there was just like this one. It's not attached to the rocker, and it's not attached to the wheel well. Yeah, go back and watch the earlier videos, like the first 10 or 20. You get to see just how bad this was, because none of this was back here. Oh, and kind of on the level of things I wanted to do that weren't necessarily the most important thing to do, but just stuff that I wanted to do. The rear brake lines on that rear end were, they weren't factory lines. They were 10-bolt lines, but somebody else had made them. So the hard lines were too long, and they just kind of got Z'd on the axle tubes to make it to where they weren't too long. They were taken up in the middle, bent. And while I had brakes, and this wasn't something that I had to do, I wanted to make the brake lines look a little bit better. So I redid the brake lines on both sides, and I'm sure those still aren't factory, but it's just something I wanted to do because I didn't like the way they looked. And I also have a 12-bolt brake line bracket now, because beforehand I had a 10-bolt bracket, and as you can kind of see, the 10-bolt bracket is straight with that bolt, and the 12-bolt bracket comes off to the side, and it centers the brake line with the rear end, because on the 10-bolt that would be centered on a 10-bolt, but not on a 12-bolt. So since I had the bracket for this car, because I found it when I was cutting the air shock stuff off. I decided that I'd just go ahead and use it. So now the rear end housing and rear brake line brackets factory. So yeah, that counts for something to me anyway. I'll see you again next time. Like, comment, and subscribe.